Woo! Hey everybody, I'm Jim Sammons, and welcome to the Kayak Fishing Show live. As always, brought to you by Ballast Point Brewing Company. We're gonna have a little Passing Hazy IPA today. I have earned this one today. I've been working this morning. Very good, very good, as all Ballast Point beers are. But I definitely have some favorites, and that one's creeping up there. Been trying to get some stuff done this morning, putting together an elliptical machine, low impact, kind of help my back. Of course, putting to get together, not helping my back because it was like a million parts. But got that all done. So very little prep for this show today, but luckily I got a guest, so I don't need as much prep because we can chat, and he's my good buddy, and we're just going to bring him up now.
Yeah, I'm like the guest you bring on when he's like, God, just don't have. I'll just get Will.
We'll get Will. We'll do it.
He was there. He'll know what happened.
Well, that's what helps. You were there for the first 10 years of shooting, at least. So,
and this is Minor Bay, and it's got a special. Right, we're doing Minor Bay today.
Yes.
So it's got a special place in my heart because that's where I caught my biggest pike. It's actually, I think it's probably my biggest esox in general. So my biggest of that genus, whatever you want to call it, because I don't think I've ever caught a muskie as big as the big pike I caught there.
Pike up there were big.
They were like, well, you caught, your biggest was what, like 41 or something like that?
I don't remember. It's, well, I can drop us out. It's in this photo that's the background. So.
That's a big ass pike. That is not.
Yeah, it was a good pike, and I think
mine was like 37 or 38. And I fished I think I got like half an hour of maybe an hour worth of fishing in.
Well, I think you got more than that,
like
because
10 minutes. I got in a boat, caught a giant fish, and then I had to film you again.
Well, that was it. I remember there was something along those lines. You had seen a fish, and just said, "You guys leave me alone. I saw a fish. I'm going for it." But there was also the thing, and we're kind of jumping ahead of ourselves, but that was the one thing that was so incredible about this trip. The fishing was so good that by the third, fourth day, and we had 7 days of fishing, the fourth day, you're like, don't bother me unless you've caught something huge.
Well, and we've got maybe 5 trips in our history, maybe 5, where the fishing was that good. We've had fishing like that in Costa Rica on the East Coast. We had fishing like that here. But that's few and far between. I think the big secret that most people don't know about fishing shows, and you and I know it, and we don't necessarily divulge it to everybody, is that to make a fishing show, you really need about 6 decent fish.
Right.
And most trips, that isn't easy to do because fish don't answer to a fish whistle. They don't all of a sudden the fish show up.
You don't say few fish.
Exactly. And the problem is especially with a show like the one that we made for the last 10 years, because we're not necessarily experts on the area that we're going to. And often our guests want to do the trip of a lifetime too. So, to give you a bit of a background, folks, you'll get that fan who approaches us to go fishing in their area. And they're like, we're like, oh, sweet. We've always wanted to fish in northern British Columbia. And then what they do is take us to the place they've always wanted to fish, not their fishing spot.
Right.
So usually we're all learning how to fish that spot together. And if you don't have that 5 years worth of fish in the same hole every day for most of your life, the fish are not easy to catch. You don't paddle right to the spot, catch your 4 or 5 fish like you do at your home fishing spot.
Well, that and the fact that we tend to go for bigger species of fish. And when you go for more apex predators, your chances go down.
Well, exactly.
So,
yeah. Well, it's like muskie, right? Like if you're fishing for muskie, if you're catching small muskie, you might catch 10 of them in a day. If you're only targeting the big ones, you're probably only going to catch one a week type of thing. So anyway.
Right. Yeah. It's just, and, throw in the ever present
weather,
hurricane, high winds, rain. It's too hot. It's too cold. You got the north-south winds blowing. And
so the good news is that this particular trip, the weather was gorgeous the entire time we were there. I don't think we even got rain one day. And it was like for an hour and some wind, but there was always a place out of the wind. And then the second part that was amazing is Jeff Goudreau, who was on this trip, had been fishing it as a guide for the whole summer, knew exactly where to go. And he would drop markers for us. He'd be like, fish between this spot and this spot. We're going to fish here for an hour. If we don't catch anything, we're going to move to my next spot. And every day were 100 fish days. So by day 3, we would be like, let's see who can catch the most fish. And people started losing count at like 100, 200. Right. Yeah. We're talking like 15 to 30-inch pike here. Like there was no tiny little like.
Well, we had the one day where we specifically had you count, and it was like 100 fish each. And the guests on the show, and we haven't really talked about, was Ken Whiting, who's the producer of the show, who back in the early years came on quite a few shoots.
He used to actually come fishing with us.
Yeah. He hasn't been on the show in years. And then Jeff Goudreau, who is probably one of the best big pike fishermen that I've ever met. Oh, the guy's just got it dialed in. So absolutely amazing. Let's say hello to a couple people who have checked in here real quick. And then
Serge is on here.
We got Liam Young watching on Kayak Fishing Tales. Serge joins us all the time. I really appreciate that, as does our friend Sean Russell. Thank you, man.
Mr. Nick is on here. Nick Zabrowski. How's it going, buddy?
Is Nick Zabrowski? Holy cow.
Talk about a blast from the past right there. Hey, Nick, how's it going?
Daniel from Rancho Cucamonga. How are you? And, of course, our always cheerleader, Gene Wilson.
Gene's played. And did you see the fish?
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, Gene. She caught – that thing's mouth was bigger than my head.
Gene,
it was such a big bass. It was a crazy.
Now, we were just talking like seconds ago about Jim trying to get some shows in the bag. Gene, you're up. Jim will be calling you now that you're catching, now that you can't just put all those other people on fish. You're going to have to get the big dogs on some fish now.
Yeah, we got Sergio saying in from Florida. How you doing, man? Appreciate it. And that Gene says that was her 10-minute trip. Anybody wants the backstory? Gene just really quickly, she went out the other night. I guess a storm was rolling in. She had like 10 minutes to fish and caught just a stupid big bass. I mean, like I said, my head could fit in its mouth.
You could fit in its belly. It was the biggest bass I've seen. Well, other than Gene's other giant bass, which is the reason why they call her the queen, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, good old Gene, the bass slaying machine. So anyway, we're supposed to be showing an episode here.
Let's do it.
Let me get rid of that. I think the background gets all busy.
The good news is that the narration on this one is going to be killer.
Back when Will narrated.
That guy has the sexiest voice. If you find Kermit the Frog sexy.
And
this week on the Kayak Fishing Show, I'm at Wollaston Lake in northern Saskatchewan, just 100 miles south of the Northwest Territories. I'm here with my good friend Ken Whiting and Jeff Goudreau, and we're hanging out at Minor Bay Lodge, getting ready to start our hunt.
Oh, the old Scotty outriggers.
Stay tuned for some hard-hitting trophy action.
That was before all the boats were made for standing up in.
When you needed an outrigger.
Yeah, Scotty had those awesome inflatable outriggers. They actually worked quite well.
Jim Sammons has been doing just that.
So if you wanted a fast paddling kayak and you still wanted to be able to stand in it, they actually worked pretty good.
They were great.
From the
And back in the old town, or the ocean kayak days, there was 2 guys we knew that could stand in those things, and they were both 5 foot tall and weighed about $1.
Right.
To saltwater. Jim's mission is
I still like this old
to
intro.
discover the best fishing
It's classic.
destinations in the world.
I mean, it doesn't have the
With
great
anything
song, the
is
Brock
possible
Zeman
with
song,
kayak.
but it's just cool footage, and it builds.
Well, this was the cinematic song that we did for Game On 1.
Right.
Written by my friend Ben Mullen.
That's a big fish from this trip.
Mm-hmm. Let's go back to New Zealand.
I was talking to them the other day. I actually talked to Jay Sanders the other day,
Nice.
trying to get me back.
And how's Seamus doing? You had Seamus on the show a little while back.
He's trying to get us back too.
Perfect. Just find a way for me to be the guest. That's all I'm asking.
Okay.
I want to be the fisherman on that one.
The Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you in part by Ocean Kayak.
No, it's not.
Makers of the Trident
No,
series
no,
of
it's-
fishing
no.
No, it's kayak.
Jackson.
No,
Fishio.
no,
No,
it's fish.
no.
The adventurous spirit.
No, not Scotty.
not them. Can we cover it? Like, no.
No,
Hey,
there's-
yay,
for the
Tanner
water
Rising.
that likes
SH
standard
is still around.
Maui Jim.
No.
Eliminate glare.
Although I
Turn
still
off
wear
that
them.
color.
I do too.
Yakima rack
No.
systems and trailers.
No, not
Take
Yakima.
it easy. And the Heliconia
Well,
Press.
Heliconia still
Cutting-edge
promotes it or
outdoors
produces it.
I still have 2
Last
pairs
year
of
on the
Maui
Kayak
Jims left.
Fishing Show, Jim visited Eastern Canada to get his first taste of pike and muskie fishing.
Okay, let's watch the
Although
movie.
the toothy
or show.
freshwater predators didn't fight like the saltwater fish Jim is used to dealing with, the spectacular Canadian scenery and the fish's tendency to hit lures right alongside the kayak made the pike and muskie adventures one of Jim's season highlights. This week, Jim resumes his hunt for big pike in the far reaches of northern Saskatchewan at Minor Bay Lodge on Wollaston Lake. At 900 square miles in surface area, Wollaston Lake is the largest lake in the world to drain in 2 directions. And thanks to a long-standing catch and release policy, the ultimate destination for the trophy pike hunter.
Took a flight up to Calgary, and then a flight from Calgary to Saskatoon. From Saskatoon, we had a 2-hour flight to Points North Landing. Yeah, man. And then from Points North Landing, we had about a 50-minute drive on a rough road.
Oh man, that bus.
Needless to say, we are off the beaten track here.
Hope you didn't have anything delicate in there, Jim.
In my skull?
I remember
Jim
that
is joined
got
once again by his
domed.
old friend Ken Whiting, as well as Minor Bay Lodge guide and kayak fishing guru Jeff Goudreau. Jeff is a pro kayak angler, fishing guide, and insurance broker who travels around Canada and the rest of the world in his pursuit of trophy fish.
My name is Jeff Goudreau.
I like that it was important that we said he was an insurance
Wollaston
broker.
Lake
He's now an electrician.
with Minor Bay
Yep.
Lodge.
We've been going now here on Wollaston for close to 30 years, I guess. On average, we get a lot of big fish in a year, maybe 4 or 5 fish over 50 inches. Number-wise for big fish, I don't think there's a lake out in Canada that really compares to it.
Despite nasty weather throughout most of Saskatchewan, the forecast is looking good in the Wollaston area, and so the boys have their sights set on some big fish. Stay tuned as the boys get their first taste of monster Wollaston pike.
Whoa.
Wow. Dang. I want to go fishing there.
I know. I still get excited. That's the one place I've wanted to go back to. I mean, it was so cool.
We went there twice, right? I went there once with Chad, and then I went there twice with you, right? Or did I go just...
We went to Minor Bay. We went to Slippery Winds.
Right, Slippery Winds.
Same owners, but
Chad and I went a few years later, and we did not have a trip like this one at all. Like, we struggled for fish that trip.
This trip was beyond belief.
Yeah.
We were talking about the weather and how nice it was, and I'm pretty, as I recall. One thing I do remember was like the tundra was on fire.
Yeah.
It was super smoky.
So that part of Canada is almost always on fire. Like there's almost always basically what happens is when you get a big forest fire there is it'll go out, but it'll continue to burn under the ground and have flare-ups throughout the year. So they're never really out. And I believe that area has been on fire for like ever type of thing. But
yeah, it was very, very smoky.
Yeah. Because even when Chad and I went back a few years later, it was still on fire. Now I will say for Wollaston Lake, Chad and I still had a great trip. We still caught lots of fish. And if you guys go to Minor Bay, you're going to have the trip of a lifetime. The difference was we didn't have Jeff with us, who was a kayak guide, to really like plunk us down in those sweet spots like we did in this one, which you'll find out about in just a second.
Yep. Well, keep her rolling.
Keep her rolling.
Welcome back to the Kayak Fishing Show. This episode was brought to you in part by Yakima and their Rack and Roll Trailer. For more information about the Rack and Roll Trailer, visit www.yakima.com. This week on the Kayak Fishing Show, Jim Sammons and Ken Whiting have hooked up with Canadian fishing guru Jeff Goudreau on Wollaston Lake in northern Saskatchewan. Wollaston Lake is recognized worldwide as one of, if not the best, trophy pike destination, and the boys are looking to land some record pikes off their kayaks. Having flown in first thing in the morning, the guys excitedly gather their gear and get ready for a full afternoon on the water.
Rigging up the kayak, getting ready to go and get some monster pike off it.
Woo-hoo-hoo. First cast. Got myself a nice one. Oh, there
we thought this was a nice one until later, where we got big ones.
So like 10 minutes later, when you saw your first 40.
Pretty big. We can probably take about a half a day just to fish it properly, and there's some nice big fish in it.
I mean, that's a quality pike right there anywhere.
28 to 30 inches, so
and that was just like average size we were catching.
Oh, that would be a trophy here. So that by far, you'd be stoked about that.
Normally females?
Yeah, the females are the ones that are the egg layers, and they're the ones that'll reach the extreme lengths of 50 inches. The males will usually grow.
Look at Ken rocking the deer go.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's quite a big cabbage all the way through here. Oh, ticking through it. Oh! Oh man, he hit it right as I was lifting the lure out of the water.
The gold spoon.
And there he went.
Jeff rocked the fly like most of that trip, didn't he?
He did quite a bit. And I tell you, if I was to go back, I would definitely, now that I've got more comfortable fly fishing since then, I would definitely do that.
Well, now that, and you can stand, and like now that we've got big wide kayaks you can stand in, fly fishing is way more doable.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, this place gets huge fish. We've seen some just monster fish.
Yeah, mayfly there would be amazing.
Monster fish went right underneath the bow of my
boat.
So couldn't be happy how this first day is going. I mean, just kind of getting used to how we're going to work together and how
Jeff's fingers is all bandaged up.
Together, that's always new people figuring out how you're going to fish an area. And man, it couldn't be going better.
And that's why I don't like
the nice thing is
hand bombing big pike.
I think most of us are in agreement on that.
There's just so many fish.
With a productive first day under their belts, the guys make their way back to Minor Bay Lodge to unwind.
But Ken doesn't have his normal bowl catch there.
Pristine bay in the southeast corner of Wollaston Lake, Minor Bay Lodge offers its guests the opportunity to enjoy the world's finest trophy pike fishing while being pampered at a first-class lodge.
I want to rock Randy's haircut.
Oh yeah. That guy had it down, like the half pompadour thing.
Yeah, it's all feathered back and then big right here.
One of the best pike lakes in North America, really. And we're less than 150 miles from the Northwest Territories border right where the lodge is.
Pre-drone days when they used to just send me up in a float plane to get those.
Yeah,
shots.
you get the shots from a float plane or whatever. I was just pause it there for a second. Do you know if Randy, or do they still own it?
I think Randy's still involved because he's the one that his name is still in the emails as far as I've seen.
Okay.
So I think, again, he still the GWN Lodges is the name of the company, I believe. And they still send out a monthly newsletter, and Minor Bay's in there, and I'm pretty sure Randy's name is still on it. So
Okay, I thought at one time they were trying to sell, but
I think they were trying to sell Slippery Winds. I don't know if they still have Slippery Winds, but I think they still own Minor Bay. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest.
cool.
We don't open until about the 10th of June, just because weather's so variable. We don't know when the ice is going to go out, and we'll usually go through about the middle of August. So it's
So I want to pause that really quick. June,
Just talk about Randy's hair. No, yeah.
June through August.
Yeah.
That's how short of a season there is. So obviously, these fish get very, very little pressure.
Next to nothing. And there's, I don't know if Randy talks about this later, but there's only one public access point on the river. And the lake is huge. Like, the lake is monstrous. You could spend a lifetime, and there's 2 other lodges on the lake, and you maybe would see one boat from the other lodge during the course of a day.
Yeah, I know they had another one that was like you had to fly into it. You had to take a float plane over to. And
there's only one road access onto the lake that isn't a fly-in road access, that one that you could actually get to from the highway type of thing. And there's just no other boats on it. There's no public. I mean, it's too far north for the public to want to go do it. There is a native community that lives on the lake, but there's just zero pressure. And it's they have all the lodges there, when there's 3, I think, have super strict catch and release policies. So, nothing's really killed. They keep a couple for dinner every once in a while, and that's it.
Yeah. We did the shore lunches.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was small fish. The big fish, everything goes back. So yeah, I mean, like I said, and I mean, if people were paying attention at the very beginning, I kind of went through what I had to go through to get there. It was not an easy process. So
and there's no way around that. There's no easier way. Like, there's no like, oh well, if you took the adventure route. No, that was the easy way to get there. Right.
short, intense season. We've got half a dozen cabins. Our capacity is about 28 to 30, but the last couple of years we've reduced that, so we'll take 18 guests.
The food was amazing. I remember that.
And Randy can mix a fine cocktail.
It's not like a mega lodge where it's numbers. It's more like a boutique hotel in the bush.
Up and at it early the next day, the guys waste no time in loading their kayaks and launching for the day. And it doesn't take long before the fish start biting.
The reels start screaming and the fish start to chew.
Jim and the boys.
Big fish.
Is this song Brock?
That's Brock. It's one of my favorites of his.
Look at that fish.
Cheapers. Now we're using Boga grips then, but this is 15 years ago, and that was totally normal at that point. We didn't really know that. We of course stopped using them not long after this.
Yeah. That is a good fish.
On a magic swimmer.
That freaking head on that thing.
Wow.
This is why we came to Minor Bay Lodge. Wollaston Lake, man. What a pig.
So that is not my biggest fish, because I got a bigger one later.
What a great fish.
Well, and the crazy thing is those fights are so short, really. Like, you catch those big fish, but it's only like tops a 5-6 minute fight, if even.
Yeah, the biggest problem is dealing with them next to the boat. The actual fight, you do it for the blow up and for the hit.
It's the release that's the tough part.
Although Wollaston Lake
So
promotes a
here's our
strict
shore
catch
lunch.
and release policy, it's expected that anglers keep a few fish. And what better way to enjoy fresh caught pike than with a fish fry on the water?
Today we're gonna cook up some fried pike and walleye.
Got a couple of cans of some beer.
Canada's best Labatt's.
That's not Canada's best.
You just
Let's
pour it
not-
in
let's
until
not
you
give
get
the
basically
world-
like a thick pancake kind of mixture. Whatever you like after that, really. Whatever, you know, a little lemon pepper, a little seasoning salt.
Look at that. Make me hungry.
I know, right?
Incredible. I mean, I can't even talk. Just eat.
And this is how
Thanks
I
to a
gained
set
30
of wide
pounds.
bones that run through the side of a pike, many people consider pike too bony to enjoy. But Jeff Goudreau has a simple filleting technique that keeps those Y bones off your dinner plate and lets you enjoy one of the best eating freshwater fish there is. And so that's what we're going to look at this week in the Kayak Fishing Tip of the Week, brought to you by Ocean Kayak, makers of the Trident fishing kayaks and the Torque, featuring a Minn Kota motor.
So there's different.
I'm going to pause it there for a second just because I seem to recall, I know we did this as a separate tip video, had it online. And of course, invariably, you get the, oh, that's not the way you should do it.
Of course not.
I just remember that right after we posted that. No, he's doing it wrong. Well, you know what? He did it a way that works. Everybody's got their own technique.
Everybody's got their own nuance. It's like landing them. Whenever we do any landing, how to land a fish segment, we invariably get 600 people telling us that that's the wrong way to land X species. You need to do it this way, or you're a horrible human being and you should die in a burning fire.
I've literally heard those exact words. You should die in a burning fire because you mishandled that fish.
Yeah,
the way I think you should handle it.
Yeah. Well, it's everybody's entitled to their opinion, even if their opinion is wrong.
Exactly. Just remember, I'm always right.
Different ways of doing this. There's other people that do it a little different than me, but the way I do it is I'll actually cut down a little ways where I imagine I'm just reaching the bottom part of the Y bone, and then I cut across so I get a good back bit from the pike, and I come up just by the dorsal, and we're going to deal with that middle part of the Y bone later. And then you can kind of see the center part of the Y bone and the two different rows of the, I guess, the bend of the Y. Now what I have to do is I lay it on its side, and I start off cutting down a little ways till I hit the bones. Then I run the top part of my fillet knife down along the Y. And then I just, without breaking the bones, try my best to get as much meat off as I can down here.
I will say that this technique works a lot better with
to the tail.
big pike.
You can actually run your knife all the way down to the end.
I've eaten pike a couple of times while we've been on shoots up in Canada, and it's
delicious.
Pretty good.
It's the same. I find they taste just as good as walleye.
The same thing goes for
they're
this
bonier.
one.
That's
a little more tricky when you're
problem.
right-handed. On this side, cut that tail down. Now we'll deal with that top part of that Y bone. Just cut on both sides. The top part of that Y. And then skin it out. The rest is just skinning out the meat. A little yellow on the letter. Okay.
Edit that out. Big fillet, boy. That's that.
For more tips and your chance to win a fantastic kayak fishing package that includes an ocean
Do not
kayak,
enter this
fishing
contest.
kayak,
No,
and
this
ex-officio
contest
clothing,
does not
visit
exist.
kayakfishingshow.com.
The website even still.
When the
Picking-
final count
Yeah.
is tallied,
Oh,
the
cool.
guys have caught well over 150 fish. on
Serge
this day,
asked
including
about
some beautiful
the
trophy fish.
gray pontoons.
But
They're
the
from
biggie is
Scotty.
yet to be found.
Don't know if
they
Stay
still
tuned
make
as
'em.
the guys take their hunt even deeper.
Oh, sorry,
where
Mike.
They discover a hidden monster.
Yeah, Mike Gallo says another great stop. He's from Down Under. Do you know what brand those are? The stabilizers, if you will, or outriggers are Scotty.
Yeah.
And they're an inflatable. And the cool thing about them was that as you were paddling, if you were going to be paddling and you didn't want, they didn't really give you a whole lot of drag. They would just kind of skim along the surface. But if you wanted to, you could just easily lift them up and out of the way. So they weren't touching the water at all. So it was a very cool product. And the nice thing about Scotty, and I although they're not a sponsor of my show any longer, their quality, I never broke a Scotty anything.
Well, it's a Canadian company, so.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, how can you? I don't know if they still make them. They may, but I know that they were a hot ticket item back in the day when all the kayaks were still really narrow and not built for standing. Probably not as big a hot ticket item anymore, just because boats are so much bigger and the secondary stability is so much better now. But
If you do get them, I will give you one tip. Don't leave them in your vehicle inflated.
in the sun, no.
Yeah, because if it gets hot, they will blow up.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't know how I know this. May have had it happen.
Like anything, pressure change can make for a difference in anything that is sealed.
Yeah. Roll said my dad caught a 12
Kilo
kg pike today.
That's
How
the
big is
kilo.
that? Yeah.
A kilogram? Oh, I don't have kilos versus pounds. It's big. That big. Super big. Real big.
Very good. And Serge says, I've been up to Burntwood Lodge in northern Manitoba.
Yep.
And pikes are just as big. And again, the thing was about this trip, it wasn't just that they were big. There was lots of big fish.
But it's super plentiful. And I'm pretty sure Minor Bay Lodge does hold the world record. It did for quite a while, the world record pike as well.
I mean, just incredibly
northern.
big and so many of them. The volume of fish up there was just amazing.
As I said, 100 fish days, and we were there for 7 days. And everybody caught 100 fish a day. That's 3 to 5 guys fishing every day. The backstory there is, I think it was on day 1 or day 2, we had really good fishing. I mean, just stupid good fishing. So on day 3, we're like, Will, we actually want you to keep track. Count every fish that the 3 of us catch. And each one of us caught over 100 pike. Yeah.
I mean, it was just stupid good. I mean, it was definitely a catching trip more than a fishing trip. But
it was one of those things where it was hard to go in because you didn't want to go in because you were just like catching fish all day long. Yeah, and then by day 4, we're like, do we have to go back out? I'm kind of tired now.
Yeah. And long, you do put in long days because it's so far north. You have super long days. Anyway,
the Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you in part by.
We probably should have taken our little break there.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been breaking it.
Maui Jim, Standard Horizon.
God, that narrator's voice is sexy. I don't know about you, but
yeah, it does it for me.
Yeah, it really makes the show.
There's our commercial break.
The Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you in part by Scotty and their complete line of kayak fishing equipment.
And there's the answer to your question.
Scotty is the way
the question that got us to stop
this
talking.
week, Jim Sammons, Ken Whiting, and Jeff Goudreau are on Wollaston Lake in northern Canada on a mission to catch huge pike from their kayaks. So far, the fishing has been.
Oh, I think you even have your old
nothing short
Shimano
of
bait
epic.
tank in behind you, Jim.
170 fish were caught yesterday alone, including some incredible trophy fish. But Jeff isn't satisfied. He wants one of the group to catch and land a mid-40-inch pike. And so the boys leave Minor Bay Lodge again first thing in the morning with visions of grandeur. It's not long before the fish start chewing and the reels start screaming.
Yes!
Oh, yeah.
Best line ever.
I think we should start a drinking game where you have to do like a shot of tequila every time I say that. Oh, I mean, not me, the sexy narrator.
On that new Rapala rod and the Rapala R-type reel. Really like the way this reel casts, man. Able to cover a lot of water.
That thing did really well until saltwater touched it.
Yeah,
I've got that new
it's not designed for salt.
Which is cast.
I still have mine.
Too right.
Yeah.
Look at that. Another just.
How's that, baby?
You got to get a measurement on that one. That's a big fish. Trophy fish here on Wollaston Lake and anywhere in Saskatchewan is 36 inches. That's a big fish anywhere else in this country. Normally, we would expect to get anywhere from 4 to 10 of those in a day.
Wow.
So on a normal lake, you'd be hunting for a 40-inch pike. On this lake, we hunt for 50-inch pike.
She finished off my last beer. She took me by the arm.
There's a good fish.
There's a good one. Dark, kissing in the alleyway. Throwing a bottle down Main Street. She laughed as it crashed down. Just like she did.
Nice back on it.
Everything in this bag, wild as a Mustang.
Just so many big, beautiful fish.
That was in our intro for years, that
Jeff
shot.
promised us some big fish today. We've gotten a few. That one's 39 inches. Oh, just beautiful fish. We promised big fish. We're targeting big fish today. And we didn't have the numbers of yesterday, but man, it's a good
Look at your shoes.
fish.
You're wearing the
Let's get this
Crocs
guy back in the
Yukon
water, or this
Sport.
lady back in the water.
Am I?
Classy.
I was never sponsored by Croc.
As the
No.
day wears on, Jim and Ken can't wipe the grins off their face.
That's hilarious.
But Jeff is still
We were probably
frustrated
going for a
with
Croc
really
sponsorship
big
at the time.
fish. That all changes with a single cast in close to the bank by Ken.
It was towards the end of the day. I actually cast in a little nook in between some weeds right by the bank, a nice drop off. And I thought, hey, that's if I was a pike, I'd hang out there. And I got, I got a hit. It was nothing that spectacular. It was really more of a just a grabbed it. I was like, oh, fish on. Didn't think much of it. You always know the fish is bigger when you don't get its head up. I started to feel some tension, and the nose stayed down, and I thought, hold on a second, I might have a good fish here. And then I actually got to the boat and made that first run. I realized that I had a good board fish.
Just bandages on everybody's hands.
The power in that tail, it just tore strips off my reel.
Yeah, you know it's good fish when you're having to deal with this much near the boat.
Mm-hmm.
Is that on a MEPS?
It's not even that big a map.
Their heads are absolutely enormous relative to the size of the rest of their body. And so when they come up and you get a big one close, I literally picked that thing up and I said to myself, I think I might even said it out loud, that holy cow, this thing's head is as big as mine.
So pause it for a second there, Jim.
It is as big as mine.
We're getting near the end here anyway.
Yeah, Michael asked about how you handle big fish like that, and you'll see that by the end of this trip, we actually stopped using the boga grips. And you'll see Ken in this particular situation didn't use his boga grip, and that's because we started worrying about the jaws. That was around the time that people started worrying about the jaws on big e-socks and how lip grips and boga grips affected the jaws on e-socks. So we were trying to figure out a new way of handling the fish. And what Jeff was doing was he slides a hand up into the gill plate, and there's basically like a woggle in the center. And if you sort of hold it there, the fish generally goes really docile, and it doesn't get far enough into the gills to damage it. So a lot of kayak anglers who fish for big esox or muskie will use that sort of technique. You slide your hand up and underneath into the gills and into that divide at the base, and pick it up that way. Now, that all being said, there is definitely a divide with kayak anglers and muskie anglers in particular on whether that damages the fish or not. In most cases nowadays, we try very hard to leave the fish in the water or use a landing net of some sort, just to do the least amount of damage to the fish. And that's really a time change. I mean, this again was, 14 years ago.
And the thing about bogas,
the swiveling head,
is a true boga, it's head swivel. So you're not going to do the damage that a cheaper Rapala or just the lip grippers, where when they spin, you can break their jaw. The problem with the boga is you could still tear underneath their mouth, and that's what they kind of worry about. So most people will hand bomb and get them up under there. You just have to be very careful, because on a pike or a muskie, you don't just have the teeth along their jaw. The entire roof of their mouth is covered with teeth, spikes, and hence everybody having tape on their fingers from getting cut.
The gills have teeth, basically. It's the creepiest thing. And the only thing that I do caution against bogas with is that when they do that spin, that death roll that they do, they'll often get the lead, and you're usually using metal leader or really thick fluorocarbon leader, and they'll wrap themselves in that leader, and that's where the most damage happens. You'll see just big scarring come in from big muskie that have been caught before because they've rolled in the leader like that, and you'll see just big scarring across them. So that's why we tend to not use the bogas anymore, to use the back strap, or to try to use that back strap method. You kind of hold it on the back, slide your hand up under the gills, get it up under the tail, get that shot as close to the water as possible now. Or a landing net is great if you've got a buddy that can help you do it. Once they get above 50 inches, though, it's really hard. And to answer your question, it's never easy.
Right.
There's never a straightforward way. Most of the time, it's just trying to figure out how not to get big, giant trebles in your hand.
Right. And one thing that definitely helps is at using a leader instead of wire, using heavy fluorocarbon, because that's much easier on your hand to lift and control the fish with that, rather than having wire, which can cut you, or braid or anything like that. So heavy fluorocarbon, like Seagar 80-pound or even heavier, works really good for a short leader, makes it much, much easier. Like I said, most of the time, it's easy just to grab them around the back of the head, but you start getting these bigger fish, I mean, it becomes more difficult. And most of the guys who are good at it, just like, James Macbeth, he's gotten much better at it and has shown me how to do it more, because I'm always paranoid. I'm always paranoid of sliding my hand too far up in there and hitting those Sharpies inside there, and those will fillet you.
A great solution for a lot of that too is I carry a pair of landing gloves with me now, that are just basically knife-proof gloves. And that helps a lot too. So it just gives you that little bit of extra safety. Now, teeth will often still penetrate them, so you have to be really, really careful. But yeah, landing big fish like that, as Jim knows with marlin and fish that are even bigger, after a certain point, it's always a bit of a gamble. If you're going to try to take them out of the water, there's going to be a chance that you're going to get cut up. So Like
I said, sometimes easier to keep them in the water. Let's watch the last 2 minutes of this, or whatever it is.
With the monster pike finally caught, the day comes to an end. But the Wollaston Lake adventure has only begun. So tune in next week as Jim, Ken, and Jeff change gears by targeting lake trout, and then make an arduous journey up an Arctic grayling-filled river that dumps into the Wollaston.
I forgot about that, going fly fishing up there.
Fly rod in my hand, and I got a bump earlier, and I was like determined.
Those are a beautiful little fish.
Until I catch one. Sweet.
while fishing on Lake Wollaston.
So we're back on Lake
Maui
Wollaston
Jim sunglasses,
for
which
this
gave us a
next
huge
week.
advantage when we were sight casting to those big pike.
And this is just
Now, whenever sight casting is important,
Maui
or
Jim
quite
bump,
honestly,
which we don't
anytime
need.
I'm out on the water.
So we'll cut them off.
Well, they still send you glasses from time to time. They're still a great company. I like Maui James.
They're certainly hands down the best glasses ever. I still wear them. I just haven't had a new pair in several years, and
the booger them. I mean, no. Yeah.
Will, man, thanks for joining me. This was fun.
Hey, anytime. I mean, and that was again. I was behind the camera for that one, so you don't see the footage, the amazing footage of me catching my big pike, because nobody films me.
Heck no. Hey, before we go,
what's up?
People don't know. Will actually is does a lot of stuff at Jackson Kayak. Anything exciting going on in Jackson right now?
We're going through.
That you're allowed to talk about?
I'm not allowed to talk about a lot, but we did just release on the whitewater side. We just released the new Antics, the Antics 2.0, and it's just blown up. It's the biggest launch we've ever done for whitewater. Definitely got people more excited about a boat than we ever anticipated. I'm super excited about it. I know Dane and the whitewater guys are super excited about it. We do have some announcements coming up in a few weeks. The 2021 season is coming up, so we will be announcing new colors. We will be announcing the 2021 colors. There are going to be, and this is straight from the horse's mouth. We're not doing much in the way of new fishing kayaks this year, but we are going to be working. There'll be some cool announcements for the existing line coming up. So stay tuned. Go to Jackson's Facebook page. It's always the best place to get information, or you can go to jacksonadventures.com, our website, and check out our store. If you have questions, I'm actually the guy that handles the online questions. So if you ever have questions about our boats, you're always welcome to ping me.
Jackson has a pretty cool thing, an Ask the Pro form. So if you're interested in a particular boat, you fill out the Ask a Pro form, and that goes out to all the pro staff, and any of the pro staff that are using that boat will answer your question. So it's pretty cool. And you'll get several answers. So, you can kind of take each one.
It's a great resource, man. Like if you I don't use it just because I know all you guys personally, but it's like having Jim and those guys on speed dial. And how if you have that question about what type of outrigger should I get for my boat, put it into the Ask a Pro, which is easy to find. It's on the Jackson website. It's under one of the drop down menus. And you basically have access to, I think we have about 150 pro staff, and they all are on that. And
I get several of these a day. Yeah. And some of them, don't pertain to me. They're talking about the Kilroy or something, a boat I don't use. But somebody else is always in there answering, and you always get several answers, generally speaking. So like I said, you can kind of weigh which answers makes the most sense for you. Liam Young has a great comment. Bring back the Kraken.
So the good news is, and this for people, this comes up a lot actually about a lot of our legacy boats. So when, and this was last year when businesses started changing, and the way that the way that the outdoor industry was working was changing. Everybody had to do some basically big changes to their business to keep working. One of the things that we had to do at Jackson was pare down our lineup to stuff that sold. And the Kraken, unfortunately, although it had a really great initial audience, it didn't continue to have that audience. So one of the cool announcements and the things that we've been working on for a while is we are working on doing limited runs of boats, and the Kraken's definitely on that list. Unfortunately, with COVID, those limited runs have been put on hold.
I know the whole limited run thing was supposed to be pushed out a while back, and I know everything's been put on hold.
Everything's been put on hold, but we have talked about it, and it is going to happen hopefully soon, because our kids' boats are the other one that people really want to see back. We know that the Kraken's one that people really want to see back. The kids' boats people really want to see back, and we know that. And we are doing all that we can at Jackson to push that through. We just need to get through this tough time. The United States in particular, it's just really hard to work in a big factory with lots of people right now in Tennessee and keep everybody healthy. But we're doing that. We're doing that, and we appreciate everybody's patience, because we know that there's a lot of things that people
correct me if I'm wrong on the limited run thing. What I understand what it'll be, it could be basically like this. I could come on here and go, hey guys, Jackson Kayak is now talking about a limited run of Krakens, but we need X amount of boats to be ordered up front. You don't have to necessarily pay, but we need, a commitment for 100 boats or 50 boats or whatever the case may be to make it worthwhile breaking that mold out. And then they can do that limited run.
That may be how it works. We're still in discussions on exactly how to do it. We know we want to do it. There's a few different ways it could happen. That is one of the ways. Another way is we work with dealers, and the dealers decide which boats we bring back in which colors. And so that we know, but yeah, it's basically, if we know that we have a way to get those boats back into the audience and that we know that people want them, there's no reason for us not to make them. The problem we have is this is the craziest time in kayaking that's ever happened. Everybody and their mom wants a kayak right now, and kayaks, I don't know if you know this, Jim, but kayaks are sold out across the United States.
Crazy.
You can't get one. You can't get one from us. Our warehouse is empty. Our dealers bought them all. So if you want to get a kayak, go to your local Jackson dealer. That's your only way to get a kayak. And that's what we're dealing with right now. So basically, we're producing kayaks faster than we ever have. And we want to do these limited runs, but if we can't stop the ovens right now, so hopefully that kind of thing that'll spin out in a couple of months, and then we'll be able to do the limited runs, and then we'll announce how that program works. But it's up in the air. I know that they're still trying to figure out exactly how to make it work. But I know with the kids' boats and boats like the Kraken, it's definitely going to happen. It's trying to get everything else, all of our ducks in a row to make it happen.
Right. It is a crazy time. I mean, sporting goods in general, let alone kayaks. I mean, I've called around to a few dealers trying to track down boats for people, and even the dealers, they're like, we got nothing. It's like,
I get probably conservatively 100 customer questions a day, and 90% of them are people asking where they can get a kayak.
And believe me, for people that are wondering, this is not just Jackson.
No,
this is globally. This is every brand is having just issues with trying to get, because obviously everybody had to shut down a little bit for COVID, but then the sales, because people are stuck at home, maybe they're not being able to vacation this year, so they're taking that money and going, well, I'm going to buy something for me to use at home, and it's just selling, which is awesome for the business.
It's great, but if you didn't get in on it early, and we're honest, hey, if we could produce kayaks any faster, we would. We're producing them faster than we ever have, and the demand is it's awesome. It's awesome, but at the same time, it's we want to see you guys paddling too. Trust us. I'd rather sell you a kayak than have to tell you to keep on hunting. But check out your local dealers. On our website, on jacksonadventures.com, there is a dealer finder. And there are some national dealers that do national shipping. And you can just ping me on the Jackson website, just ask a pro or whatever. I'll give you that list of national dealers. I don't have them off the top of my head, but that's pretty much the only way to get a kayak right now.
You're right.
Is the hunt.
That's it.
Or buy used.
Buy used. I got a couple of used boats. I was like, I know the demand is so high right now. I mean, I could probably get, if you have used boats, maybe it's a time for you to sell them, because
it is.
You might be able to get top dollar for them right now.
You can, yeah, for sure. And and the good news is the 2021 season's upon us, and we'll have new boats coming out of the factory at that point. Dealers will be receiving them soon, and so hopefully the market will be flush with boats soon, particularly Jackson's. So
yes, sir. All right, Will, man, you look good. I really appreciate you being on here. I know you've been working your butt off, and literally working your butt off.
Working on it. Yeah, had to get rid of the 15 years of beer belly I built up doing the Kayak Fishing Show.
Yeah, me too. All right, man, it's good to catch up with you, and I know we'll have you back on again soon.
For sure. Thanks, everybody. Give my love to Allie and Jim, and we'll see you soon.
All right, man. Take care. Well, that was a lot of fun. It was great, reminiscing about such an awesome trip. And again, part 2 of that will be next Thursday. I don't remember what I've got going next Tuesday, but every Tuesday and Thursday, join us for these replays and reminiscing about these old episodes. So If you are getting out on the water this weekend, please, please, please remember to wear your PFD and keep your paddle right side up. You take care.
I'm going fishing.